With population density being at an all-time high, it goes without saying that farms are more necessary than ever. And as it turns out, the largest of these can be often found in the strangest of places. So, where are the biggest cattle farms right now? And what amount of livestock is considered to be, well, big? For all this and more, stay tuned, as we're about to rank some of the greatest cattle farms around. Number 6. Deseret Ranches in Florida. First up, and taking on the 6th position on our list, is an all-American favorite. We are, of course, referring to Deseret Ranches, which is considered by many to be the largest cattle farm in the vicinity of the United States. In fact, the ranch is spread across an area of more than 300,000 acres, which is more land than any lonesome farmer is able to tend to on his own. As such, the cattle wranglers who look after the livestock on the grounds are more cowboys than they are farmers, which makes sense since the cattle in question have to often migrate from one section of the ranch to another to allow for sufficient grass regrowth. What really sets Deseret Ranches apart from the rest of the farms on our list is the fact that it's owned by the Mormon Church. For those of you who don't know, Mormonism is a religion that finds itself alongside the Christian faith, but rather than inheriting its teachings from the Bible, followers are also subjected to the so-called Book of Mormon, which subjects them to a number of principles that many consider to be strange. But since one of the principal teachings is that of control, it's really no surprise that the Mormons of Deseret Ranch are able to bring over 44,000 cows to their knees. That's just under 7 cows an acre, and shows how brilliant the ranch is at maximizing the space available down in Florida. Number 5. The Mato Grosso estate in Brazil. To get to the 5th cattle ranch on our list, we have to move even further down until we reach the Mato Grosso estate in Brazil. Believe it or not, but Brazil ranks incredibly high when it comes to the number of cattle available to farm. And this has a lot to do with the vast number of farmsteads that can be found in open spaces across the country. The Mato Grosso estate is a beast of its own though, and focuses on raising a number of different types of cattle. Its biggest export by far would be ordinary cows though, which look surprisingly different from the cows the majority of us are used to seeing. These albino cows and bulls are often herded in natural ways, with the Mato Grosso estate priding itself in raising cattle with a better quality of life than the other ranches on our list. The presence of the Brazilian rainforest on the plot also allows the ranch to diversify more than other cattle farms, which has resulted in various forms of cattle we mentioned earlier. According to reports, the Mato Grosso estate has a grand total of 14 million acres of pasture that are perfect for agriculture. And when it comes to cattle, the latest statistics have the farmers counting around 28 million cows a day. Suffice to say, the owners have their hands full at all times, which has resulted in some pretty deep pockets to say the least. Number 4. Tamil Nadu in India. Taking on the 4th position on our list is Tamil Nadu, a cattle farm that can be found all the way in the southern region of India. And as it turns out, this isn't at all surprising considering how India has one of the largest percentages of cattle in the world. The cattle farmers of the country do prefer to conduct business on smaller farms though, which are spread across the region at various intervals. As such, Tamil Nadu is rather different, qualifying as India's biggest cattle farm because of the immense population of cows and bulls within its borders. But you might be surprised to hear that the ranch has actually received quite a bit of help from the Indian government over the years, as it also conducts itself as a recovery center for rare breeds of cows. And as you likely know, cows are rather important to India. In fact, they are often worshipped as being denizens of the gods, with Tamil Nadu being the farm for them. This wasn't always the case though. Before 1924, the farm was used to focus on the rearing of young horses, which makes it one of the youngest cattle farms on our list today. And according to the broader public, it's the shift of Tamil Nadu from horse rearing to cattle recovery that has made such a difference in the Indian agricultural sector. Good thing too, as the population of the country is in a constant rise. Number 3. Clifton Hills in South Australia. And then we have Clifton Hills in the southern region of Australia, which has long been known for its dry plains and large number of cattle per square acre. Established as far back as 1876 and owned throughout the period of time by just 4 families, it goes without saying that Clifton Hills has more than a few stories to tell. But despite the incredible run of over 130 years, it's the actual herding of the cattle within the boundaries of the farm that allows Clifton to make it to the 3rd position on our list. The farm has over 18,000 head of cattle at the moment, which is incredible considering how much smaller it is in land mass than the other properties already mentioned. And although Clifton Hills was sold to a farming company back in 2018 for millions of dollars, it must be said that not much has changed as far as management is concerned. In fact, as we said earlier, Clifton Hills is one of the greatest farms in Australia, despite often being targeted for not providing the best standards of living that cows and bulls could ask for. Other than a general lack of space, though, in comparison to the sheer number of cattle owned by Clifton Hills, the farm is in perfect working order and makes more than its fair share of profit by herding cattle like it did over a century ago. Number 2, Anna Creek in South Australia. Clifton Hills is however solidly beaten by another South Australian farm that goes by the name of Anna Creek. And if you've lived in South Australia before, it's a name you've most likely seen across the region. Size-wise, Anna Creek is absolutely gigantic. In fact, its size is bigger than the broadest drawn regions of Israel. So, it goes without saying that its cattle have more than enough space to roam around free. Anna Creek is also the largest beef cattle producer in the entirety of the world, despite the fact that the farms rear other forms of cattle on top of these. Controlling a total number of 17,000 steer at a time can be a pretty complicated process though, which is why the ranch has decided to lean into the technological era and make use of instruments in an effort to help run things smoothly. In other words, you can forget about large groups of cowboys and sheepdogs corralling cattle when the need arises. Sure, this does take place on the farm, but more often than not, things are done in technological ways in an effort to maximize production. A great example of this is the automatic dividing system employed, which ensures that specific types of cattle are stored together. It might also surprise you to hear that Anna Creek was originally a sheep farm, but dingo attacks brought about a change to cattle, and there's really nothing more Australian than that. Number 1, modern dairy Anhui in China. Last but not least, and by far the greatest cattle farm in the history of the world, is Modern Dairy, which can be found in Anhui province of China. In terms of size, Modern Dairy is just over 11 million acres and has around 40,000 cows grazing on their land at a time. Suffice to say, this is drastically more than anywhere else in the world, with China definitely taking the trophy for most cattle farmed on a yearly basis. And strangely enough, Modern Dairy only opened in 2011, which makes it just over a decade old. In other words, this incredible cattle ranch is but a teenager when compared to the other farms on our list, showing just how impressive the Chinese beef producer is in the broader schemes of things. Like Anna Creek, Modern Dairy has also embraced the use of technology, which is how the workers are able to look after the massive variety of cows and bulls each and every day. Even the feeding of these animals takes place automatically through the use of machines. The farm has recently been overtaken in size by the Mudanjiang City Mega Farm in China, which comes in at an insane 11 million acres. But since the mega farm has been the subject of controversy, we wouldn't rank it as a top 6 contender. And there you have it, some of the best cattle farms. Which one is your favorite though? And did we leave any contenders off the list? Be sure to let us know what you thought in the comment section down below.